This is MAFFS, the Make Australian Football Fun Society. I'm talking like this because I listened back to last week's episode, and I think Teo and Josh have better voices than me. What say you, Joe?
Absolutely. That's why I've come back this week, is to bring a little bit of spice and try to match it with Josh and Teo. Nick, you could lift a little bit, just a little bit more excitement in the voice.
What? No. So this was the thing, right? I think my voice is too high pitched. I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, you guys, to be fair, Teo and Josh are kind of professional commentators. So you guys have the more kind of commentator voice. I have the more market selling fruit at the market kind of voice. Hey, get your tomatoes. Hey, you want some tomatoes? Get some tomatoes. Come on, the best tomatoes you can get. Come on. What do you think? Get your tomatoes.
That's an important role, though.
Yeah. Shout out Simon, and shout out anyone who's commenting on Facebook. Not on Facebook, because we don't know on Facebook. YouTube is the place mainly to comment, but Twitter and all the other places. He says your voice is fine, which isn't a ringing endorsement. It's just good. Fine is acceptable. It's it's probably how you would describe, the majority of the Socceroos' performance against Indonesia. It's fine. It was what it was. But Teo, Josh, how are you? How are you this week? Starting with Teo.
A lot more MAFFSy this week. Obviously, last week was super serious. This week we had a lot of fun. I mean, did we go a week without anyone shooting themselves in the foot? I mean, yeah. Well, except for the referees. But you know what? We had fun. For the most part, we had fun.
We had fun. Josh, how was your week?
My week has been late nights at the Oz Open, baby. So I've been catching up on all of the football action. But good fun. And Stoll, you don't have to add more gravitas to your voice. As you said, you've got the crackling energy, a bit of this, bit of that, a bit of ba-ba-ba, bit of ba-ba-ba-ba. We need that. We need that. If it's just me and Teo talking in NPR tones, then I don't think anyone's going to tune in, right?
Well, it's a different show, put it that way, and it definitely isn't fun.
Welcome to the Football Report with Teo and Josh.
This is airing my grievances, with Josh pretending it's a discussion as I ascend my soapbox.
So, you know what I think is funny? The voice that I did.
What I think is that no one listens to this show because I did not have backlash from anyone, which means basically I got away with it. The next show has started, so in theory, that's it. No one can come at me for last week's show. We're done. We've passed the threshold.
It's funny. It was actually our highest rating episode, I think, ever. I know we've talked about previously that we had 15 million downloads. Crazy. I think it was 16 million last week. But I did get a text message.
500, amazingly a bigger number than 15 million. Who knew?
Yes, exactly. I did get a text message from, let's say, a leader in the Australian football media industry, and he said, "Listen to your podcast. Teo and Josh were great." And I was like, "Okay, what? Just
anything else that's stood out?
Yeah,
the voice
was. I mean, was there a third person in there that maybe you thought brought? Anyway. Turns out that it was funny. It was good. And you know what? Shout out to whoever posted us on Reddit because I was no longer allowed to do that under self-promotion. So thank you for that. And then thank you for all the people that commented on that. And some people that were saying, yeah, you didn't say this, you didn't say this, which fair enough. You only got so much time. You only got so much ideas. Blah blah blah. But one comment that came through, which this is. You know what? I love that slowly but surely the MAFFS mindset is being put out there, right? And slowly but surely people are just coming up with their own MAFFS-like ideas. And this comes from, well, I can't even say their name, but basically someone on Reddit said these guys should be involved in running the league, or at least some people on the ground who know how the game ticks. Sorry, I can't read anymore. Yo hablo español y ahora es difícil para mí en inglés. Muy difícil. They would be my first choice for a football show on our next broadcast. Yeah, there's a lot of talk on our next broadcast. I mean,
what do you mean next? What do you mean next?
Don't worry about the current one. Let's look ahead.
They're still working for the current one. Tranquilo. Think the football version of Top Gear. Parrish is the intelligent Captain Slow. Josh, what do you think about that?
Yeah, he's a highbrow guy. It's Josh Parrish.
Look, I'm not wild about it. I feel like I have better dress sense than James May, but
surely.
Well, maybe you can talk like James May and dress like Brian May. How does that sound?
I'll take it.
Teo speaks his mind and doesn't take crap like Clarkson. What do you think, Teo?
I mean, which Clarkson? Is it Al Clarkson or Jeremy Clarkson? I'd love either's salary.
Yeah, I know. You know, as well, the Jeremy Clarkson used to just release books which were just like, here's what I reckon kind of books. Like, they weren't really about anything. They were just like, here's me on 10 different topics. What a life.
But that is the definition of NRI. Imagine if my NRI got to the point where it's just Teo's talk back. Here's what I thought today. And all of a sudden, it does numbers. Like, that'd be incredible. I mean, I have a Twitter account that's 14 years old and nothing but vanilla self-promotion. So, the fact that my opinion,
you would have been banned on Reddit years ago, Teo.
My opinions more or less only exist here in this podcast in the public domain. Otherwise, you'd think that I was a bot. Anyway, there's lots of NPCs. I'm competing against quite a field. Continue, Stoll.
And Stoll, the hyper cheeky Hammond. Now, so Hammond, was it Richard Hammond? It was Richard Hammond.
Yes.
Right? He, I think, was universally known as being the most annoying, most obnoxious of, maybe not, Clarkson was also kind of obnoxious, but definitely the most annoying. Like, I feel like he got made fun of the most. So, I understand the reference, but I'm a little bit like, oof. Am I the annoying one of the group?
I have been unironically compared to Jeremy Clarkson, and I'm happy about it, and you two are whinging. I can't believe it.
At least the three of you have roles. I missed one episode, and you guys get your own Top Gear show. What's happening there?
I
can be Grant Denyer in the new Deal or No Deal.
No,
show.
you can be the Stig.
I can be the Stig.
To be fair, the Stig almost coached our national team on a certain MAFFS tangent of yesteryear.
That was. You know what? I feel like I need to have a running list of all the crazy ideas that we say into microphones on podcasts. Like, I'd forgotten that we should get.
I don't think we need that on paper, Stoll. I don't think we need that recorded.
No, I think it's good. You know what? I was thinking back about like how on episode 1, Joe, how we talked about, was it the ashtray, the
yes, the ashtray, the ashes, the football ashes, the ashtray. That was F0 of MAFFS.
That was F0. Look, the Reddit comment continues. It says, give them the budget to form their best animal 11 and actually put them on the field. Now, that is an absolutely great idea. How effective are the new style micro-sized shin pads against studs up challenge? Stoll finds out. Yep. So already I'm getting a broken leg, which is pretty rough start for episode 1, but sure, we'll do it. Teo straps a rocket to a football to find out how fast a ball needs to travel to break a net. Power! That is actually a fantastic idea. If we ever do get a show on any broadcaster where they're just giving us a budget, this is one of the first things I'm doing. Let's actually try and break a net. I don't know. Do you think the A-Leagues could be a bit more fun if halftime entertainment we strapped rockets to footballs and just blasted them at the net?
To be fair, we reached that point in 2010 and everyone hated the Jabulani, so they took the technology in a different direction.
Yeah. I miss the Jabulani. It made things interesting.
Did you guys ever kick a Jabulani, by the way?
I think maybe once.
Yeah, but it was pretty old and beat up. It wasn't a fresh Jabulani on a nice pitch.
I hit the greatest shot of my life with a Jabulani.
Oh, wow. You were the Diego Forlan of inner city Melbourne.
I wouldn't say I did it consistently, but there was one shot that it wasn't on target, but it traveled. It traveled.
Greatest shot of your life, off target.
No, let's take this screenshot down. Come on, let's say I need to see your faces. This was it was so flat.
He has a certain number of minutes of FaceTime because he needs to boost his profile because he's campaigning to have a series of books come out where it's just Josh's jibes and it's his thoughts and he puts it out as a book and everyone buys it because it says Josh Parrish in big letters on the cover.
Teo, don't you need to be saving up for your farm? Surely.
Great.
But
what I was saying is I hit the greatest shot of my life with Jabulani because it was like a low trajectory, absolute tracer bullet. It swung from inside to out and it hit my friend's 7-Eleven like icy slushy thing and split it in two.
Wow.
So that's the power of the Jabulani. I think it was much maligned, but if you're giving people more time, we could have seen some of the best goals we've ever seen.
Yeah, look,
Or some of the best slightly off-target shots we've ever seen.
the Reddit comment continues and says that Josh could investigate whether microwaves do in fact interrupt broadcasts, which actually I'd be quite interested in seeing that. So that's amazing ideas, and we've had some amazing ideas come from us from this show. But actually, what's really beautiful is that now the audience is generating these insane ideas, and we appreciate it so much. So please continue. If you ever have a crazy idea in Australian football and your friends tell you it's too crazy, get it to us somehow. Write it, send it to us, tag us in it, whatever. I love to hear these crazy ideas because there's nothing that gets me more excited than an insane idea and be like, you know what? It might just actually work. But look,
we get to berate the first curmudgeon that gives us a normal idea but pretends that they're being crazy because it's ironic. We get to heckle that. We get to heckle that person. You have been warned.
Yeah. You've got to come up with 3 good ideas before you start throwing in ironically shit ideas.
Well, okay, hang on. I was going to save these, but would you like, instead of what made football fun for me this week, would you like my 3 MAFFS ideas that I set myself over the weekend because I wasn't very MAFFS last week?
Yes.
And you guys can either buy or sell on them and hurry me up and move me on, depending on how much you like them or not. All right. Sorry to hijack the show for the second week running. At least this time it's fun. All right. The new Unite round, we're going to find a venue which has 6 pitches all within walking distance of each other. All 12 teams will turn up and concurrently warm up. Every single coach who has ever said, we just worry about us, we don't focus on the opposition, will be made to eat their words, as at the end of the warm-up, a random draw is held as to who you play. And then each of those 12 teams are allocated onto one of those 6 pitches. The fans who are there for Unite round all walk to the respective venue because they're all within walking distance, and you kick off. Done. Unite round solved. What do you reckon?
I love it. The only thing is, where are we hosting this? Qatar? Like, where do you have 6 stadiums within?
If only there was a close A-League tie to a place that's probably going to be building a lot of stadiums out of thin air and has lots of exploitable territory between now and in 8 years' time.
Look, Simon says via YouTube, okay, I'm on board. So look, you've already got one thing. Joe, what do you think of that idea?
That's brilliant. Would they kick off at the same time, or is it a marathon?
Yes, no, because everyone warmed up at the same time. So
that's
the point is that all 12 teams are like it's a real test of every coach that says, "Yeah, we're going to bring it in-house. We're just going to focus on what we do. We don't worry about the opposition." And so, all right, live your creed. Go and prepare for a game where you don't even know who you're playing.
Yeah, I like it. Josh, thoughts?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I would enjoy it if there was some sort of drafting element to it, like you had a pool of free agents that you had to like pick one each, some sort of something that encompasses the sort of schoolyard nature of the exercise, where you could have like captains picking the sides.
Unite round plus the 2032 redraftables. I love it. All right, here's the next one. That one's gone over pretty well. All right. Crowds in some markets are going pretty well, but we were debating over the weekend whether seeing certain teams' names on the bill is actually a deterrent. So what about neg marketing, where you promote that there's a game on, but you only promote the home team? It is just come and watch Melbourne Victory at 7:40 on Saturday, and you don't even name who the opponent is. This is actually the complete reverse of... Well, no, this is the reverse of my previous idea. This is the deluxe option for the coach that doesn't care who the opponent is, because you're not even advertising them to your fans. Could that be fun?
I think that's a good one. I like the curiosity factor, because I would just turn up to see who is there. Like, I think there's sometimes where I've looked at fixtures and gone, they're playing them. I give it a miss. I think that has legs. I think that has legs.
Would you have to keep it under wraps, though? Like, would it have to be a blanket media ban on reporting who the visiting team is? Or is this purely...
I don't know if that's going to be a problem.
So, here in Spain, there's a thing called Kings League, which is PK's league. And one game, they had a guy playing a full...
Hang on, Patrick Kisnorbo has a league... Oh, Gerard. sorry. Continue, Scott.
it was a full Mexican wrestler mask, and he played with it the whole time. And this idea was that he was a professional player, but he didn't want to reveal his identity. Turned out to be quite a shit professional player, and also it turns out that you can't really play great football while wearing a Mexican mask. I think the breathability is a bit of an issue. But there was something very exciting about that. There was a lot of, is it Ronaldinho? Is it this guy? Is it the Stig? Who could it be? So I don't know. I think there's a lot to that.
All right. My last idea, and sorry, again, if this is actually going on IRL and great minds just think alike. This is my own harebrained scheme. I have no inside information. Jurgen Klopp announces his departure from Liverpool after the final game of the season, whatever that may be for Liverpool. Like Barcelona a couple of seasons ago, they all get on a jet to Australia, and Jurgen Klopp's farewell game for Liverpool is Liverpool versus the A-League All-Stars in front of 100,000 fans at the MCG. Whoa. He gets a nice payday, and if he is going to a Saudi club after his Liverpool stint, then this will look tame by comparison. Is that fun?
He did say that he was, lacking energy, and nothing revitalizes the batteries like a 24-hour flight from London to Australia, and then immediately getting off the plane and having to deal with questions like, "Oh, Jurgen, how are you, mate? Oh, look, what do you think of the Essendon Bombers? Do you think they can do something this week?" "Yeah, I think so, mate." So I don't know, maybe look, a holiday's as good as a change, right?
I think we need to schedule it at 12:30 p.m. on a Saturday, because that's the time slot that Jurgen Klopp loves most. No one has relentlessly complained more about fixturing and scheduling than Klopp. I would love to see him explode at a reporter again, but this time, make it one of the sports reporters in Australia who didn't know that they were turning up for a soccer press conference until 10 minutes beforehand. That's what I want to see.
Because the opponent wasn't on the bill, they used neg marketing to promote the All-Star game.
Have you put up to that second proposal by Bradley C. Stubbs? Is this the coach whisperer talking, saying you can't acknowledge the opposition?
Yeah, we just call him the little guy that wears number 10.
Oh yeah, that was right. Jeez, that was an odd time in football history. Hey, Joe, you wanted to talk about Klopp leaving Liverpool?
I do. I wanted to kind of go off the back of Teo's idea, which I love. Obviously a big departure, and Xavi did the same. Stoll, you're a Barcelona man. Were there as many tears shed after that announcement that he'll be stepping down at the end of the season?
From Xavi, yes, but from everyone who's watched Xavi's football, it was like,
I don't think so.
No, we're okay. It's interesting here on the streets in Barcelona. There's a lot of whispers of Postecoglou, mainly from people that I've just recently told, "Hey, you know who might be good? The new Tottenham manager, Ange Postecoglou." And they're like, Posta who? And who is that?
Postecoglou.
And
where do they find these guys?
He's Australian. They go, "Are you sure?" You go, "Yeah, he's Australian. They go, "Okay, Postecoglou. Oh, maybe." So the whispers, Postecoglou, streets of Barcelona.
You know how much influence you have. You got to maybe pipe down on that one. We want Ange to stay at Spurs, but stay with me on this one. Here's my idea. Graham Arnold announces that he's stepping down as coach of the Socceroos.
I'm sold. You got me.
Of the Asian Cup. So I said stay with me. All right. So we're in the quarterfinals now, either playing Saudi Arabia or South Korea next. But the Socceroos use the emotion of their coach leaving to find that extra gear. We win the Asia Cup. Then Arnie says, "You know what? I think I'll stick around if it all goes well." Alternatively, if we crash out 6-0 to Saudi Arabia, maybe not the worst idea in the world. I think it's win-win.
Joe, what odds do you think there are that Klopp is slow rolling everyone, much like Sir Alex Ferguson, who announced his retirement would be at the end of the 2002 season and then continued to manage Manchester United for another 11 years?
I think 80% chance that Klopp manages Liverpool next season.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I think he's staying.
Wow.
I think so.
The John Farnham retirement plan. Just keep going.
Absolutely. I think the thing is, Liverpool fans seem like they're obviously distraught that he's leaving and a little bit, confused as to why now. But they're convinced that they're going to do something at the end of this season. And I think Klopp, if the reason genuinely is I don't have the energy for it anymore and just need to step away from a bit, I don't believe it. I think he's sticking around.
Josh, you ran into a lot of German tennis fans at the Australian Open during the week. John Farnham didn't have a great deal of success, but do you think Jurgen Klopp can help our next referendum get over the line?
I mean, look, in terms of Jurgen staying at Liverpool, I don't think it's happening. But I do think that this will be the fuel to the fire for Pep Guardiola to rip off a 15-game winning streak and then give a speech at the end of the season about how Klopp is his greatest adversary of all time.
He'll be in tears saying how much he'll miss Klopp.
We cannot replace him. We cannot replace him.
What a manager.
And then next season, when they
makes me a better coach.
When they get Xabi Alonso in, he'll say, "Woof, Xabi is the best coach I've ever coached." Oh my goodness.
Yeah, what we talked about with Xabi. You retired before Xabi.
Gary O'Neill, the best coach I've ever coached.
You know what I did yesterday? I watched a bit of the NFL playoff, but I was watching the Argentinian commentary, and guess what they do?
Do they give a big long touchdown?
Touchdown!
Oh, no
way. It was hilarious. Also, the commentator was absolutely having a tough time with some of those English names, or I guess American names in this case. But yeah, it was good to see. It was good to see it's not just a one-way street when English commentators are commentating on foreign football teams. But it was fun. It was fun. Hey, speaking of fun, we've got some breaking news. Well, depending on your feelings on this. Breaking news, Ninko is retiring from football. I probably wouldn't announce my retirement in the same kind of week as Klopp and when Xavi also is leaving Barcelona. It just feels like it's just going to kind of be washed in there. But I do wonder if is it an immediate retirement for people in the know, if they can check that, or is it?
It is at the end of the season. I can confirm. Okay. End of the season, which I don't think is a huge shock to anybody. Has anybody tarnished their legacy at a club in such a significant way while also really doing very little as a result of tarnishing that legacy? Like, it's been incredibly underwhelming, his time at the Wanderers.
Jordan Henderson, going to Saudi Arabia,
maybe.
Oh
yeah. Jordan Henderson's a good shout. Especially considering he might not even be paid for his 6 months of sacrificing his credibility. But no, I just feel like it hasn't worked out for anybody involved, really.
He had that moment in the Sydney Derby where he gave the assist for Yengi, and he had that little moment of celebration. True. I think it was in the first Sydney Derby. Yeah. And look, I mean, probably from Ninko's point of view, I think he just wanted to live in Sydney longer, and his family was happy here, and this allowed him to do that. And yeah, it tarnishes his legacy, but I don't know. I wonder if Sydney FC fans really will forgive him. Apparently, Blinkers here says all good things come to an end, and that GOAT tier at Sydney FC at his peak. It was interesting as well that was it Mezhievski this week also announced his retirement. And actually, I think that season where they had Mezhievski and Ninkovic was ridiculous. I mean, Mezhievski, if he'd stayed, would have been one of the all-time great A-League players. But
100%. Yeah. I still think it's one of the best individual seasons we've ever seen in the league.
Yeah.
But of course, it ends the way it ends with Terry Antonis and not Adrian Mizhevski. So it's a little bit overshadowed by that moment, I think.
Hey, look, keep sending through your ideas. We've had a good one come through from Joseph. What about an A-League tag team idea where a different 11 is forced to come out in the second half? So I like this. What if it was like...
Carl Vitt will do that if he had 11 subs available to him. We're getting closer. We are getting closer.
What if it was like... Maybe this is a way to celebrate the new second division, right? What if you had to combine with a second division team? You had to partner with them. So, like, let's say...
Stoll, the second division is a solemn TNC-style league. No gimmicks here. No gimmicks here. It has to be straight up and down football as everyone used to know it.
Here's what I reckon.
I'm saving you from yourself here, Nick. You want to do the gimmicks, the T20 stuff, you take it elsewhere.
Let me tell you. Sydney FC partners with, say, Sydney Olympic, and then Western Sydney partners with Sydney United.
You have not done a Google News search on Sydney Olympic today, Stoll. That might be a really bad idea.
I have. That's why they came in my head. And it looks like they need a few partners who can send them a bit of cash. That's what I'm saying. So they partner, and then at halftime, they switched. So you go to watch Sydney FC, you go to watch Sydney FC Western Sydney. In the second half, you're actually watching Sydney Olympic v Sydney United. Is this a way to get people excited, to bridge the gap, to finally have the full pyramid? Joseph, I've added to your idea. Let me know if it works for you. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Joseph also claims that Luke Hodge killed his legacy with his Lions move. Now, that's a really good call. Didn't even mention Isaac Smith's move to Geelong as well. So there's some big talking points there. Teo doesn't agree with that one.
Me and Nick DeBano will address this when MAFFS does footy at some point at a later date. I'm not going to hijack your podcast here.
Josh, how many of these words have you understood in that sentence?
More than I would like to.
Hey,
In an ideal world, I wouldn't have understood any of them.
Speaking of words,
You're quite brilliant, Josh. You're quite brilliant.
You guys would have seen this week, obviously, the controversy in Australia, which is, it's always funny what becomes controversial in Australia. But Basil Zemplis, the whole the reserves controversy. So I don't know, Taya, can you kind of explain to the audience how it all went down and what exactly happened, kind of the timeline of it all?
Yeah, so during the Afghan war, one of Australia's most wait, sorry, I've gone back too far. Basil Zemplis, for those, the one thing I'm amazed about is the number of people who have boldly declared they don't know who Basil Zemplis is or had never heard of him until this weekend, as though it's some sort of a dunk and not making you look incredibly ignorant to someone who has been media public property and on Media Watch, a nationally televised program, on a regular basis for a number of years. I mean, I don't know. People think it's some sort of a dunk to say, I don't even know who Basil Zemplis is. But I don't know. That was probably the thing that stood out to me the most. A little bit like Vince McMahon's curious use of shorthand and grammar rather than the actual content, as alarming as that was, of his text messages during the week. Anyway, we'll set that aside for our Patreon version of MAFFS where we can go R-rated. Basil Zemplis is a AFL commentator turned Perth mayor, radio presenter who loves to, parrot populist talking points that appeal to, people who want to clean homeless off the streets and shut down shelters for battered women. Those people who like that stuff, I guess there's a crowd for it, right? And so he was talking with another journalist, and he claims that he said that the 6 p.m. news going up against the Australian Open tennis meant that the newsreader was in the reserves or the reserves game. However, a lot of people believe that he was referring to the women's tennis final as being the reserves game relative to the men's tennis final. You can make up your own mind. The footage is out there.
So, and this was the whole thing. Was it taken out of context? What did he actually say? And he's kind of really defended himself. And I think, the West Australian newspapers really defended him. It was out of context, and how dare, and they're blaming this kid who has a media company. I don't really understand why there's a 15-year-old with a media operation, but whatever. That's what's going on there. But I just wanted to kind of give Basil another chance.
In the vacuum created by the demise of other outlets recently, Leo Puglisi and 6 News just continues to, they've climbed out of the relegation zone by virtue of other teams receiving points deductions. It's quite amazing.
And you know what I think is interesting is that, like, there was this whole story about that they're going to review their practices into, how they report news or blah, blah. They probably, with a 15-year-old in charge, they probably should review their practices into child labor laws. But that's another thing. Look, Basil, I wanted to give Basil a bit of a chance to play a clip of him, in context. And this is him talking about NBA superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo.
One of the NBA's biggest stars is in hot water on the eve of the playoffs. Giannis Antetokounmpo was rejected for him.
There you go, Giannis Antetokounmpo in hot water. So look, in context, out of context.
To be fair, Stoll, that is also how most of your friends in Barcelona are saying Ange Postecoglou this week.
It's true. And you know what? Like reading the news, reading the sports news especially, is not easy, as Sky Sports showed us earlier this season.
Lots to come, including Wayne Rooney admits he'd have sucked his entire Birmingham team off at half-time.
I beg your pardon.
Well, there's your 11 subs. There's your 11 subs, Stoll.
We saved that
entirely new team. I was about to say a different word. Running out in the second half.
Wow. Hey, look, you guys have been at the tennis this week. Joe, you were there. Josh, you were there a lot. I wanted to know, was there anything at the tennis that you guys kind of thought we could apply to the A-League, to Australian football? Because the Australian Open, I've been a bunch of times. It is a lot of fun. Even just being around the stadium is a lot of fun. I don't know what can apply, what cannot apply. But Joe, was there anything that kind of came to your mind?
There was something that I noticed that's been absent from the tennis that has been there in previous years. And what I miss, so obviously they've gotten rid of the lines, men and women, over the past couple of years. Everything's automated. So you used to be able to challenge a call. The assistant referees, that's correct. You used to be able to challenge if a call was in and out. And I thought this was great. You get 3 challenges and the crowd would go nuts. It was the big, as it comes up on the big screen, and there's millimeters in the call. Obviously, that meant there was margin for error. If you didn't challenge, you could potentially lose the point. But I love this. The drama was very high stakes. We can bring this into the A-League. Goal line decisions, offsides, VAR, put them on the big screen. The captain gets a challenge. 3 challenges a game. Imagine that. You see the ball in slow motion. Does it cross the line? Does it not? The drama in that they've taken away from us, the tennis, I want it back.
I like it. I like that a lot. I think
I miss the actual people yelling out or fault.
For example,
I actually, because they have this automated voice that says,
what, they've gotten rid of that person.
Yeah, so those people are out of tennis. Like, I imagine a lot of people have lost jobs. Actually,
lost their jobs.
Literally, they took her jobs.
This economy is out of control.
No,
Albo's going to do something.
They were the community radio of tennis. They were turning up for free and clinging on to their spot in the hierarchy for how many years they'd served. I don't think a single one of them got paid, did they? All those, weren't they all just from local tennis clubs? And it was sort of like a status symbol to be out there, fold,
But I miss the character of those calls. I miss, we need like a Nick Stoll there, doing his fruit selling impression.
I would not be able to shut up during a point of tennis. In fact, I have at one time been told to be quiet at the Australian Open. So,
sorry to take this off on a tangent to a different summer sport, but obviously English is the tennis common tongue, in spite of it being a very international sport. And I was wondering, is one of the reasons why cricket just hasn't caught on in other countries, in that when you hit someone on the pads, what is the Italian appeal of how's that? Stoll, how do you say how's that in Spanish? And then how would the appeal sound when you're going up for LBW?
Como esto?
¿Cómo estás?
No, como esto. Como how is como, and that is esto, está. Como está?
Maybe that's why cricket never... So my point about the tennis is I actually already think tennis does something that the A-League does that I would love us to stop. And that is the 100th best person in the world at an extremely difficult, skilled professional sport is looked upon like a total scrub. Yeah. These people are not celebrated, even though you have to be in the top 1,000 just to get a world ranking. And to make it into a Grand Slam, you've got to be like in the top 80 to automatically qualify. And then when you're beaten 2-2 in love, you're treated like a pauper. And I feel as though, there's not enough celebration of people who are still extremely good at tennis. They're just not in the top 4 or 5 and thus are still a huge standard deviation away from what the very best are. And I think Australian football treats too many of our good A-League players like that as well.
Josh?
I think there was some stat that one of those terrible like those opinion polls or that comes up every once in a while. It's like 1 in every 4 men reckons they could take a point off Serena Williams or whatever at her peak. So in order for Basil Zemplis to redeem himself, I think he needs to play the reserves game. He needs to face the 500th ranked female tennis player in the world in a warm-up fixture before the women's final next year, and we need to all watch him get absolutely wiped, and then he can resume his spot in public life.
I mean, not to be a numbers nerd though, Josh, but double faults do exist. It's possible to take a point off it's possible to take a point off anyone in the world of tennis without even having to hold a racket at the other end of the court. I like those odds.
I feel like she could stick to her second serves though, to be honest.
Have you guys ever had that experience where you've played a sport against someone who was kind of like a professional sort of level and really, really felt the difference?
Yeah, I've played futsal against like not that flash NPL players before, and there are levels to this game.
Yeah. I mean,
they weren't even really trying that hard.
I played beach football against ex-Central Coast Mariners and maybe better known Liverpool forward Luis Garcia. Also played for Barcelona. And it was a rough hour. That was like that guy. You know what was crazy was basically played like first to 3 or something, and then you did another game. We beat him the first game, and you could tell like he was just couldn't work out the bounce and how it was going, and then he worked it out. And oh my god, did he just start humiliating us? It was impressive for a guy who was retired at this point. Yeah, the other one that I've played against, Steve Corica, I think 4 or 5 years retired, absolutely destroyed us. We was like a kind of a media versus Sydney FC game thing. My God, he was good. And the final one, kind of the man of the moment after the Socceroos 4-0 win, I played with Robbie Slater, and Robbie Slater was unbelievably fast, well into his like late 40s. I was stunned at how quick he was moving at 40s. I got to say, nothing gets my respect like you playing well on a football team that I'm on. Like, whatever previous thoughts I might have had about you, once you start playing well on my team, I'm saying like, man, I love this guy. This is incredible. So Robbie Slater, into his late 40s, absolutely blitzing it down the wing. It was incredible to see.
A good comment coming in from Xander. Keely Adamson played futsal in our mixed ability comp before he signed for MacArthur and kept running the full field from goals and scoring.
Yeah,
why was he in goals is the question. Is that to try and make it fairer for everybody else?
I mean, maybe he just wanted to play with his mates or something like that, and couldn't be bothered or something like that. But yeah,
are we sure it's not how he got scouted for MacArthur?
Maybe. Joe, you want to say something?
Well, one thing about the Australian Open is they really know who they are. So if you compare them to Wimbledon, this is the party tournament of the Grand Slam. Like, they are worlds apart in terms of atmosphere. You've got people like Nick Stoll being asked to be quiet amongst the stands. They are the party Grand Slam. But what they did this year was open one of the show courts, the outside courts, where any reptile can pay $19 and just waltz in. And what they did was they called it the party court, and they built a bar which had a balcony overlooking the court. So you thought it was rowdy already. Now people are having drinks. They're yelling on the court. You can hear knives and forks clinking away while these players are playing. They've really launched into the party atmosphere.
Any buckets being thrown, or
still no buckets? Still no buckets.
All right, interesting.
I know.
What on
kept
Melbourne?
Their house in order.
Yeah,
but imagine that. Imagine that at Melbourne Rectangular Stadium. You've got like an elevated or like a loft on level 4, and you're right there in front of the players overlooking.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I went to Eibar recently, which is a tiny stadium here in Spain, and basically 5,000 people, but they have apartments overlooking the ground, right? And the view that you get from these apartments is incredible. And honestly, it's my dream to have a setup like that. Do you guys remember there was like a Carlsberg ad, the beer, the Danish beer, and it was like, if Carlsberg made apartments, it would be like this, and the apartment looked straight onto like a football field, and oh god, that would be such a dream. I mean, in Australia, there's no way that I could afford, an apartment that even looks onto green space, never mind an actual football field. But I don't know. I think
I don't know.
Housing developers.
I know a dirt mound and a wheelbarrow out in the far western suburbs of Melbourne, where if you just went and put your flag in the ground, I know it's maybe not the time of the year to talk about something like that, but if you were to go out and claim the territory as your own, you might have some joy building something next to a football stadium.
Yeah, Shaky Booty says that's Leichhardt Oval, an apartment block overlooks the away end. Yeah, but Leichhardt's expensive, mate.
Apartments and townhouses overlook, funnily enough, Sydney Olympics ground, Belmore Oval. And I have never been there when the Bulldogs play in the rugby league. So I don't know if they put up temporary fencing to block these apartments, but we're talking like balcony looking out, and you'd be right behind the goal or the end goal in rugby league parlance, looking straight down the pitch. It's ideal.
I love it. Hey, look, we're
speaking of Sydney Olympic, by the way. We've been sent in something. This is from the Hellenic Cup over the weekend. Adding a touch of humor to the event, the mascot Yaya Turbo was a person dressed as a comical Yaya, in brackets grandmother, with a walking frame, adding an extra layer of fun and cheer. So there you go.
Incredible.
A Yaya is a really good mascot, actually. I think a Papu mascot versus
Yeah.
a Nono and a Nonu for
Oh.
Marconi or something. Jeez, there's your rivalry right there. Hey,
Is Yaya Turbo what Robbie Slater's going to call himself when he's in his 80s? Or
no, he'd be Papu. He'd be Papu. That's the
Imagine the halftime snacks if Yaya was a mascot. You have some pasticcio. What would you have?
You know what I would say. One of the best halftime entertainments that I've seen at Sydney FC is basically they've got a bunch of like, I guess, babies or kids under 2 with their parents, obviously, and they took them out to the halfway line, and all they had to do was dribble a ball to the goal. Right, that was it. But obviously, that's a pretty tough thing for a 2-year-old to do, and it was thrilling to see about 50 of them try wrong direction, get confused, get distracted on the way there. It was amazing. But what if we put a baby up against the Yaya, right? So an 85-year-old Yaya with the walking frame up against a 1-year-old. Let's see who can get. This might take the whole 15 minutes of halftime. We might have to delay the restart of the second half. But tell me you wouldn't be enthralled by such a competition. Young versus old, the ultimate battle.
Wasn't it Japan where they had 3 professional footballers against 100 school children?
Love that stuff. Love that stuff. Lockie Flanagan says 3 A-League stars versus 100 kids. Which A-League stars are you taking?
Well, but hang on. In A-League parlance, 100 kids could be as old as 24. I mean, that, they're just kids. We've got a young team here.
I think it'd be great to see Iran Kunda just blast past about 60 of the kids. It'd be great to see Zinedine Machach like shoulder barge his way through another 50 of them. And then I don't know who's I was going to say who's the modern Matt Simon? Who's the one who's going to like?
I was going to bring Taylor Reagan back to the A-League.
Oh, yeah,
for this one.
Ruben Zadkovic would be the only one to get sent off and get them down to 2 A-League stars versus 100 kids.
Two people. The hive mind is real in the comments. 2 people have pointed out that we should have Archie Thompson slide tackling them.
Oh yeah, it's a great.
Oh yes, of course.
Hey,
I think Oscar Zavada would take it a little bit too seriously.
Yeah, it's good.
You mentioned Iran Kunda, and I did promise to have a more MAFFSy week.
Yeah.
This was one tweet about my commentary of the Melbourne City versus Adelaide United game on Thursday.
I hope this is from who I think it is.
The commentators don't stop talking about him. The hysteria when he touched the ball on Thursday night was over the top. Every time, let the kid play and stop talking about him like he's Jesus because he's going to Bayern Munich. There you go. So I promised more MAFFS. I decided to get excited about the most exciting prospect in Australian football pretty much in forever. And sadly, it wasn't to everyone's taste. But you know what? I regret nothing.
What?
I actually I walked out of that game feeling like Adelaide were, wasteful, a bit unlucky, only to see social media, Adelaide were ready to tear the joint down. Like they were so wound up about it. And I think that's the difference between being impartial and being a one-eyed fan of your team, because what I thought was just, a night of trial and error with Iran Kunda creating and then not finishing the vast majority of the chances. It was a proper wind-up for their fans. And it's unfortunate that it's left so many of them feeling embittered about the remaining games of the Iran Kunda experience.
Yeah, it is odd, the kind of attitudes that Iran Kunda, but also I don't understand these people who comment like that to you, who are like, look, I'm going to watch this game of football. I don't want the commentator to get excited at all, because why would I want to be excited when watching a form of entertainment? This is like, what are they doing with their lives? This is insane. Anyway, whatever.
Keep it up, Teo. You're living the MAFFS mantra, man. Keep it up.
Oh, Iran Kunda.
That's what I wanted to ask you about
goal
your
for Adelaide.
I feel bad. We're 43 minutes into the show, and I still haven't asked the only question of the show, which is what made Australian football fun for you this week. Let's start with that, and I'll say what made Australian football fun for me this week. It was you, Teo, revealing in your match commentary that Jimmy Jego is coming back to Melbourne City. Now, Jimmy Jego, good player, Melbourne City, good signing, whatever. That isn't the part that excites me. The part that excites me is that yourself, Robbie Thompson, commentators, I think Andy Harper as well, are starting to reveal breaking news in commentary. So when the game is a little bit dull, a bit of a Fabrizio Romano comes in and they go, here we go. So, Neil, this was when you tune into a game and you think, let's be honest, MacArthur v, Western United, you think this really is not the most
Funnily
exciting
enough,
game.
both clubs will neg market that, so no one will know who's playing who.
Professional football team versus other professional football team. Tune in Wednesday.
All your
2
favorite
p.m.
football stars. Ariaga 2.
Hey, Ariaga would be a great signing. No, but
Soiza.
is this something that we can expect more of this season? Breaking news in commentary? Is this something that we can? Is this a reason to tune in every match?
If I was to
A
confess
possibility.
that I already thought it was in the public domain and I was simply repeating something that was already in the public domain, would that out me as not being a newsbreaker whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
I'm actually
didn't know.
thrilled that the tweets and the Reddit thread started by Hibs fans misspelt my last name. So whoever Graziano Pele Zeri is, go and sue him. Don't come for me.
I think it's your next step. I think, like you said, Fabrizio Romano, don't want to know about it. David Ornstein, bum. Teo, I want all my news delivered from you live in commentary at any random moment.
Yeah.
That would make Australian football fun.
I don't want to be
64th
fair,
minute,
because
does it throw
Some
in?
people,
only
Drop
not
a
me
bomb.
now. Sorry,
I know
some
what
people,
man.
not me now.
They
I would
cook it
All
now.
of us talk.
argue.
All four of us talk at once. All four.
Stoll, take control here. You're the host.
Okay. All right. Look, you guys have disgraced yourselves, and I will do a 4-minute monologue of what I think needs to happen. No. All right, Josh, you go. You say something.
I was going to say that, not me now, but some people would argue that Fabrizio Romano is only reporting news that other people have reported first. So you might be in the same camp there, Teo.
Yeah.
So I would say, we talked about the Stig earlier, the most successful way to be a newsbreaker in this country is to assume anonymity, because it gives you some sort of sheen of protection. Because as opposed to what would he know, the person, it's, this account that has a formal sounding name is actually the newsbreaker. So I will put my name to what I've done. And if it turns out to be wrong, I will live with the consequences.
Hey, Joe, 47 minutes into the show, a record. What made Australian football fun for you this week?
I'm so glad you asked. There's so much to be excited about. We had more brilliant January goals, Asian Cup victory, but one choice for me, and that is, I'm going to pop it up here, Red Foo at a Melbourne victory game. Now, say what you want about Red Foo. Firstly, this is the most confusing collaboration I've seen in a long time. What is he doing here? Why is Red Foo in Australia, and why is he at a Melbourne victory game holding a jersey with his own name on the back of it? But look, say what you want about him. He is fun. I remember, Josh, you might remember this as well from the tennis. He dated Victoria Azarenka, maybe 2014, from the tennis, because you're a tennis fan and also a huge Red Foo fan.
Yeah.
I
I believe he's
watching
changed his name to Blue Foo after the weekend.
The big Blue Foo.
I remember watching the Oz Open, maybe 2014, and Azarenka was playing. And occasionally, after she won a point, the broadcast would cross to the players' box. There was coaches, family, and Red Foo sitting there, and he was literally up there shuffling after every point. He's the biggest hype man you can ask for, and I want that energy in the A-League. So if Red Foo's bringing that to Melbourne victory, I am all here for it.
Yeah, I mean, did they think he was David Luiz and wanted to make a marquee signing, and that's why they've given him? And they've only realised late in the game.
Another point on
Yeah, go on.
Another point on Red. Yeah, please.
All four of us talk. All four of us.
Yeah.
No, you go, Joe. You go.
Another point on Red Foo. I know there's a few clubs out there that still need a new owner. Imagine the Perth Red Foos.
Yeah. Well,
hey, he's probably got family wealth because he is the son of the founder of Motown Records. So he's Berry Gordy's son. He is actually like a literal Nepo baby.
All right. Teo, what did you want to say about the big Red Foo?
Does he have a very generic look, which means that he could easily be replaced by body doubles and absolutely no one would know the difference? I mean, he's known for his hair and his glasses. Does anyone actually look at the rest of the shape of his face? Are we even sure it was Red Foo and not simply... He is not simply the 21st century version of Elvis and has many impersonators wherever he goes.
So
I think he'd be stoked with the Elvis comparison, too.
One time I went to...
Hey, I didn't compare his music to Elvis. I simply compared his look-alike ability.
One time I went to a comedy club in Sydney. It's probably like 10 years ago.
Is that before they outlawed laughter up here?
No, it was before lockout laws. But honestly, it was probably like 10, 12 people in the audience. And one of the people in the audience was Red Foo. And I got to say, it was one of the most odd experiences. Me and a mate were in there and it was just like, is that Red Foo? And it was Red Foo. And let me tell you, in a setting of 12 people, he's a little bit less shuffly. He's a little bit more just kind of keeps to himself.
A bit more down to earth.
Bit more down to earth. Red Foo, the man of the people. Who would have thought it?
Okay.
Big remontada. Hey, Josh, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
Oh, I'm glad you finally got to me, Stock, because it was percolating.
Okay, we're running out of time. Sorry, mate. We're going to have to cut you off there. What made Australian football fun for you?
Great show.
Yeah,
no, Patrick Wood's 36th minute red card against Melbourne Victory did not make Australian football fun for me this week. But the Sydney FC Twitter account tweeting 14 times about the decision made Australian football extremely fun for me this week. Have we ever seen as salty a response on the TL? I don't know if we have.
Yeah, I mean, it is starting to merge like fan account and official club account. And it does get a bit like, oh, but it was this odd decision. I don't know. I saw one thing I liked was Sam Kerr tweeting out that, like, that should never be a red and whatever else. And I like this idea that Sam Kerr, her power in Australian football now extends to that she can overturn VAR calls in the A-League, and that she can just, from her tweet, just be like, nah, at halftime, you're going to have to fix that up. Like, reinstate him on the pitch or something like that. It was an odd decision to the point of, I think it was Daniel McBreen in commentary was like, never a red, never a red. If you've played the game, that's not a red card. And do the VAR, do they need ex-players in there as advisors? Do they need people who've played the game? Or there is a big thing that kind of people keep pushing is just to bin it all together and save the $1.5 million, which, as long as we have cameras pointing at the pitch next season, not a guarantee, it'd be interesting to see if they go that way. But yeah, I don't know. It's there. It has gotten to the point where I don't think there's less than 1% of football fans are in favor for it. And it does kind of need some, at the very least, modification, Josh.
Well, I was just going to pick up on the Sam Kerr point because it reminded me of a story I was once told. I'm not sure if I've shared this on the pod before, but it was a beIN Sports broadcast of some sort of cup game, like French cup game of a PSG game or a preseason friendly. I'm not entirely sure on the details, but it wasn't being broadcast. And the owner, the very rich Qatari owner of PSG, decided he wanted to watch it because he was on a plane that day. Yep. And so they set up an entire TV broadcast just for him.
Wow.
So he was the only viewer. And I'm thinking, you don't usually read the comments. You don't usually put too much stock in what people say about you on air. But when you've only got one viewer, I think you probably need to. And I'm wondering, at what point, how famous do you need to be watching an A-League game for your opinion to count more than anybody else's? Sam Kerr might be approaching that territory.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That could be an interesting thing. Teo, have you ever done a commentary for one person?
Oh, if the one person was me, absolutely. I remember the first ever NPL National Finals Series. Metro Stars of Adelaide travelled to Sydney to face Bonnyrigg. And when I asked the person I paid the web stream for what our audience was, he said 3. And I said, 300, that's good. And he said, no, 3. And that wasn't even 10 years ago. That was in 2014. So how time flies.
I mean, that's a good point. Hey, very good point from Xander Wilson. We said get your ideas in, and we appreciate funny ideas, but we also appreciate serious ideas like this. Should there be a horse in the VAR box? And I think it's a good point. Wouldn't it be great one day if that shot before the players shake hands and then we get to see who the video assistant referees are? Wouldn't it be great if there was just a horse in the box and then they cut away from it? Commentator doesn't reference it. The super says VAR official was a horse, and that's it. Look,
are we sure Chris Griffiths-Jones isn't a horse? I've never seen a photo of him.
I've met him in real life.
Really?
KGJ. Yeah, really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Does he have like a pixelated face and a voice changer? I'm assuming.
He was a very nice, humble guy, and I say that, and I also say that maybe he should be replaced by a horse. I'm not saying that he's not doing a good job. I'm just saying that I prefer horses in strange situations. Ironically, not a big fan of horse racing. Not for me, but otherwise,
But
Let's
much
get
more
horses
ethical to
around.
put them in charge of a lot of very complicated electronic equipment and labyrinthine rules.
Yeah, I don't know. We should talk about it very quickly. There was a at the halftime entertainment, a horse took a penalty in the MacArthur game. I think MacArthur, I don't even know they were playing this week, but anyway, not important. But what's to say is the horse missed the penalty, and a lot of people would tag me like, oh, Nick has some explaining to do, and this disproves the theory. No, first of all, couple of key facts, and a lot of the woke podcasts out there, they won't ask the big important questions that they know need to be asked about this specific subject. But let me tell you, two big questions. Was it actually a horse, or was it just a person dressed as a horse? And that's a key difference. All right, a person dressed as a horse was never what I said. I said an actual horse should be on the field, not people in a horse suit. That's not what we want. We want actual horse on the field. Second, penalties. No, it's not about penalties. That's a tactical mistake. What I said was 94th minute corner when you're down by one. You send the horse up into the goal. The opposition they're just getting out of there. They're just like, I don't know, there's a horse here, let's get out of the way. You bend the ball into the box, it hits the horse on the ass, the ball falls, second ball, Australian football tradition, you get in there, you smack it in on the rebound. That's how you win with horses, all right? I don't want to see any more, penalty takes or anything like this. Every time there is a horse involved in football, don't tag me and say, Nick, you're wrong. No. I said very specifically, horse, 94th minute, down a goal.
And if you send in another if you send in another horse penalty, then you're just flogging a dead ball. So,
yes, Josh.
Nice.
Nick, if you're even asking whether it was a horse or a person in a horse suit, you must not have seen the footage because I'm watching the footage right now, and it is clearly a person in a horse suit. In fact,
here comes the horsey from an angle. Takes the shot. Oh, missed it. Robbo's happy. He didn't have to make a save or pretend not to make a save.
Oh,
there you go. It was who was it that missed the penalty at the 1994 World Cup? Was it Whitney Houston?
Yes.
No, I don't. Are we sure, or was it a different singer?
Let's have a look.
Whitney Houston.
I don't think it was Whitney Houston.
No, you know who it was?
Why am I getting Roberto Baggio? Google is not massified here. 1994 World Cup penalty miss.
Diana Ross. Diana
Ross. There we go. There you go, Josh.
Don't besmirch Whitney Houston's good name like that. She has a 100% record from the spot.
Lucky Flanagan in the comments, Diana Ross. Teo, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
Great question. I mean, I thought, I just thought the weekend was fun. Yeah.
How about what's his name at the Jets with the 2 goals and the assist? Stamatopoulos. What's a player he looks like?
I mean, he's having a great season to the point where the Jets, I don't know, is his contract up at the end of this season, or should they be in a position where they can make a really handy transfer fee on him now? Or could the new owners potentially see him as a big asset, and that could perhaps accelerate the sale of the club, knowing that they could have a $2 or $3 million player asset there that they could sell as soon as they walk in the door. Not that I'm trying to flog him off. Sorry, Jets fans, but yeah.
But I mean, the whole league's a selling league. I mean, I think he's great. He's in incredible form. He's a lot of fun. Angel Torres was another one who made Australian football fun this week. Oh, he was brilliant for Central Coast Mariners. And
are we at the point now where Apo Stamatopoulos is going to be more expensive than the Jets themselves? Is it cheaper to just buy the club and have the asset?
Buy the club and then sell him to yourself on the cheap.
Kia Jarabchian is going to buy Apostolos Stamatopoulos and then sublet him back to the Newcastle Jets.
Why don't we sell a club to Fabrizio Romano and then he's guaranteed to get all exclusive transfers from that club?
I have it on good authority that Fabrizio Romano has some ties to Australia.
Oh.
He's dropping a lot of bombs. I think he might be the Fabrizio Romano over here.
Tune in to the next A-League game that Teo commentates in the 35th minute. You may hear a reveal about what that actually
You have to watch the whole game because we don't know what minute it's going to drop.
If I want it to be the last game I ever commentate, yeah, sure.
Hey, this show is called Make Australian Football Fun, and People might be wondering why we haven't mentioned really the Socceroos beating Indonesia 4-0 in the round of 16 of the Asian Cup, which in theory should be the biggest news. But
In theory, it should be fun.
The only people having fun with the Socceroos during this Asian Cup tournament are somehow Bolton Wanderers fans. You know, they really shouldn't have a dog in this fight, and yet, you know, after they probably saw Tajikistan get through against the UAE this morning and thought, oh, Gethin, if they can get past South Korea or Saudi Arabia, then our boy Geth might be lining up against Tajikistan in an Asian Cup semi-final.
You know what? It was fun at one stage when we did have 2 goals from one shot. That was an exciting statistical time in Australian football. There's also, I think, Evan's meme summed it best up about the people who are enjoying this World Cup most are the ones who are sleeping in and waking up to just check the score and going, oh, we won. Oh, clean sheet. Oh, great stuff. 4-0 against Indonesia. Look, it was a bit of a rough watch, but the good news is that now we're playing better teams as we move into the quarterfinals, right? So we're going to play Korea or Saudi Arabia, and therefore we're not going to have to break down a deep block. We're not going to have the ball very much. So therefore, it will be much more fun and exciting. The fact that anytime we get up the field, it'll be like when we play Denmark. It'll just be, oh, we've got one attack. We're holding them out. This is sensational. So the fact that actually now the pressure will be on the other teams to have the ball will therefore make it more fun when we inevitably scrape through with a 1-0 win against probably South Korea.
I mean, Korea are in open revolt against men's football Tony G at the moment. I think it's highly likely we will be going up against Saudi Arabia in the quarterfinal. I don't know if you may think it's South Korea, Stoll, but I think the Saudis will beat Jurgen Klinsmann, by the way, who I am referring to, and South Korea in that quarterfinal.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, we probably should wrap it up soon. But Josh, you wanted to bring something up?
Yeah, I wanted to get to one of our Twitter replies. We asked on Twitter, what does Socceroos DNA actually stand for? And we got this very earnest response from Adam at ads 000000001.
Quite
who
literally
says,
first name bunch of numbers. He is the steroid.
Yes. Ads
the soccer
was
Sorry, go on.
00001 taken, and you had to add in that extra 0.
Extra 5 zeros, yeah.
Exactly.
The Socceroos DNA is the equal measure of our most talented players who have the highest commitment to trying their best. They do it for their teammates and the nation's supporters. Collectively, they embrace their diversity and are motivated by playing against the odds. And then IMO. So I want to thank Graham Arnold for tuning in to the podcast and leaving a comment. It's fantastic. I'm so happy to have you on board, Arnie.
Yeah, look, when I said what does DNA actually stand for, I kind of meant like, do not ask about the performances. I think Joseph said don't need Arnold, which is a bit harsh, but fair enough. He calls it as he sees it. But yeah, I think at one stage I said deflected nice advantage based on Jackson Irvine's first goal, which I think actually went down as an own goal. So that's kind of what I meant, but a good earnest response. We appreciate all of them.
Just to finish that though, if we get past Saudi or South Korea, it's one of Iraq, Jordan, or Tajikistan in the semi-final. All we need is to channel that spirit of the World Cup for one game, and we are in the final, and it may not even be Japan waiting for us. We actually do have an incredible chance to win this tournament.
I reckon we will get to the final, and I reckon we'll lose to Japan. That's just how I'm reading the tea leaves, and I think that's how it's going to go down.
Yeah. Japan do look unstoppable, but we could potentially fly Red Foo over if we need a little bit of extra spice. So we do have a secret weapon up our sleeve, if required.
Is Red Foo still part of LFMAO, or is he gone solo now? Is he kind of like
Is he his own man?
He's kind of broken out the Justin Timberlake of.
He tends to shuffle between different projects.
Oh,
that's good. That's good stuff.
Jesus, no, it's not good stuff. I think we need to end it there.
I did want to bring up one more thing that Arnold said, which I thought was funny, which was talking about how much Indonesia have grown as a football nation. He said last time we played them, they were all about 5'8", and now they're all 6 foot. Literally, they've grown in as many words. Yeah. That's paraphrased, but they do have a few. They have naturalized a few Dutch players with Indonesian heritage. So a few towering centre halves, and I'm like, bro, you can't be complaining about a height disadvantage. We have Harry Suter.
Well, there was a player
Scottish
from,
player.
there was
A
a player
naturalized Harry Suter.
There's a player from Indonesia, from Catalonia, from Barcelona, Jordi, forget his
Jordi
last
Amat.
name. Jordi Amat. And he and Bruno Fornaroli were arguing in Spanish as they left the field at halftime, which I thought was a wonderful encapsulation of modern international football. And Australia versus Indonesia in the Asian Cup, and these two are like, ¿Qué coño es esto?
Look, we're close neighbors. We need a lingua franca. Maybe Spanish is the answer to bridge the ties between our two fledgling nations.
Very much so. Hey, any other late business before we say goodbye?
That's all from me.
All right, excellent stuff. Look, we will be back next week, 8 p.m. Monday. Hopefully, maybe time subject to change. Who knows? Life subject to change. Nothing's guaranteed. That's why you got to appreciate it. Please, download, like, comment, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, do all the things that help.
On Reddit, pitch the TV shows that you would like us to reboot and star in.
Yeah, you don't want clip comments out of context and post it on Twitter with subtitles.
To be fair, that tends to drive engagement. Make sure you call me a shill and a company man, and just keep it all ticket over.
Someone post us. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, by the time we next talk to you, Australia is in the semi-finals or in the final. I don't know. Next week. When would the semi-final be? Does anyone know?
It's Saturday. Is that correct?
Okay. All right. So hopefully next time we're in the final. All right. We will talk to you next week. Have a great week, and please make Australian football fun. See you next week.